Welcome to Growing Younger Health and Fitness podcast designed for people over 40. Hello guys, so why is it so damn hard to lose weight after 40? Now, today's podcast is a big one. I've been planning to do this podcast for actually quite a number of weeks now. And finally, here we are, okay? So I'm going to share with you my take on weight loss and why so many people struggle these days, particularly people over the age of 40. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to use my experience in the fitness industry to tell you what I think needs to happen and why you might be struggling. Now, if you are not interested in losing weight or toning up or burning some fat, you probably don't need to listen to this podcast. However, if you are interested in this topic, I think you really, I would highly recommend that you listen to what I'm about to share with you. Now, I hope that this podcast actually changes your paradigm a little bit, okay? It changes the kind of the mindset, or it causes a bit of a shift in the way you think about weight loss. I hope that it will actually help you, help you to set you on a path to success in achieving your goals. So, most of the people that we see in Growing Younger, when they come to have a chat with us before joining, now obviously everyone is over 40. Now, hardly anyone is actually eating junk food and, eating lots of, cakes and sugary stuff, okay? So most people come to us, they say that they eat healthily, okay? And to a large degree, they are right. So if we look at the food that they eat, a lot of it, 70-80% of it is actually reasonably healthy, okay? However, why is it that they eat healthy, but they're still struggling to lose weight? So this is something we're going to cover in today's podcast. Now, before I go any further, I want to set the scene a little bit, okay? So weight loss or weight gain, despite everything that you hear on social media and so-called gurus on Facebook and YouTube and so on, weight loss or gain is purely all to do with calorie balance, okay? So as long as the number of calories you burn per day through activity and exercise is a little bit higher than the calories you take in through food, then you're losing weight. Okay, so I'll say it again. As long as you're burning more calories than you ingest into your body on a daily basis, you are going to be losing weight. However, if you're putting more calories into your body than you're burning, then you are gaining weight. Okay, it's simple as that. Very simple. Okay, you don't need to make it more complicated than that. I mean, people talk about keto diets, intermittent fasting. They talk about insulin levels. This is all not proven by science at all. Okay, so the only thing we know is that it's all about calories. Okay, so with this in mind, let's take a bit of a historical detour into our distant past. Okay, so let's just think about the last 20,000 years. Yes, I know it's a long time. Okay, but over the last 20,000 years, our human bodies haven't changed much. Okay, so we've been going through an evolutionary process. And look, I understand not everyone believes in evolution, and that's fine. That's okay, because you got to keep your mind open about things like that. But the fact is that over the last 20,000 years, our human bodies are pretty much the same. They have not changed much at all, okay? Now, if we go back at 20,000 years, a typical human being would be living in a cave or in the jungle, okay? They would be hunting, gathering, so it was a pretty primitive hunter and gatherer society where you basically had to hunt for food. You had to go walk around the bush or the jungle and collect plants and berries and fruit. So you'd pretty much every single day, you'd have to burn a lot of calories just to find the basic food that you need to survive. Okay, so on a daily basis, your bodies will be burning massive amounts of calories. Okay, now when it comes to food, the food was quite scarce, okay? So protein and fat was quite hard to find because you have to basically kill an animal, right? You have to chase them, you have to run after them, and there's no guarantee that you actually catch them. So there's a lot of effort involved, okay? And even if you do eventually catch something or you find some food, that it's not a lot of it, and you got to share with your tribe as well. So like, there's not a lot of food to go around. So what I'm trying to say here, our bodies are designed to be extremely efficient at burning as little calories as possible per unit of work done. Now, the reason why our bodies develop that way is so that we don't starve to death, that we can expend quite a significant amount of energy without starving, right? So therefore, this is kind of developmental or evolutionary a process that we had to go through, okay? Now, fast forward 20,000 years. So right now, what are we seeing, okay? So most jobs are sedentary. So you sit in the office, hardly move, you might walk to the printer. Now compare that to running around the jungle, hunting animals, running away from predators. You can see where there's a disconnect, right? So the number of calories we burn these days is so much less than, back then, 20,000 years ago, right? Now, let's look at the other side of the equation, the food. The food is abundant. You go to the supermarket, you don't even have to do anything. You just go to the supermarket, fill up your trolley, pay, go home in the car, right? So you don't need to hunt. You don't need to walk around the forest and collect berries and stuff like that, okay? So because food is so abundant, most people overeat. And you could argue the food they eat is healthy, so it might be, lean meat, possibly chicken, but the problem is there's just too much of it. Even if it's healthy, there's just too many calories. Okay, so too many calories going in and not enough calories are being burnt. That is pretty much as simple as that. Now, another important aspect to this as well is that so both sugar, it's not a secret that sugar and fat, they make the food taste better. Okay? So for example, when you're making a coffee, if you drink a coffee with a bit of, milk or cream, you put a bit of cream in it, what does it do? It makes the coffee taste better because it's fat, right? You put a bit of sugar in it, it makes it taste even better because, again, like sugar makes food taste better. So our taste buds evolved to seek out sugary and fat foods. Now, the reason why it happened is because both sugar and fat are quite high in calories and it gives us energy. So back in the jungle 20,000 years ago, it was helping us to survive. Because in nature, both sugar and fat are actually quite hard to find. I mean, if you think about, naturally, there are not many natural types of food where there's a lot of sugar, like in a cake, right? Yes, fruit has a bit of sugar, but it's not a lot. And the same with fat. So fat is obviously, it's mainly animal fat. And to find animal fat, you have to chase and hunt an animal, which is a lot of work. However, these days, it's so abundant. And now the thing about generally the food industry, they understand this. They understand that our taste buds love sugary and fat foods. So they give it to us on a silver platter with minimum physical effort involved from us. So they give you a lot of particularly processed food. They intentionally put a lot of sugar and fat into it to make it taste better, so you buy more of it. But in the process, it builds up your calories per day, so your daily calorie intake skyrockets. And therefore, people gain weight. So that's another reason why there's such an imbalance these days in terms of your daily calorie balance. So most people live with a daily calorie surplus. Now, of course, we can blame the food industry, we can blame someone else for what's happening, but it's not going to help us. It's not going to help you. Okay? At the end of the day, you're the person who puts the food in your mouth, right? So you need to start to learn to read the labels and see how many calories are in your food, how much sugar, how much fat. It's important because it is your responsibility to ensure that the food that you eat is, number one, healthy, but also that your calorie balance is either neutral or slightly negative if you're trying to lose weight. So until you do something about it, no one else will. So I guess the moral of this episode today is that when people complain that they can't lose weight, they eat generally healthy, but they don't seem to be able to lose weight. It's not because of hormones. It's not because your metabolism is slow. It's all, all these things, yes, they can have a role to play, but to a much lesser degree than you think. So in 99% of cases, it is purely because you are eating too many calories and you're not burning enough calories. So essentially, you've set the bar too low. You've got to raise the bar, okay? You've got to make sure that you're eating less and you're burning more. That is it, okay? There's no easy, quick fix. There's no shortcut. Obviously, you don't want to be starving. That's important too. And just to make sure that your calorie intake is reduced, but without starving, you need to make sure that there's quality food that you eat. So generally, for most people, it means eating more protein, maybe less carbs, maybe a little bit less fat. Okay, but everything, the protein, the carbs, and the fats, they are all essential. You need them. They're not bad for you. It's just that for most people, the proportions are a bit out of whack. Okay, and obviously, to help you, if you're still feeling a bit confused, you probably do need to see a nutritionist or see one of our team to help you sort out your nutrition. But at the end of the day, if you don't do anything about it, nothing's going to change. So look, I hope that this kind of helps you, or maybe changes the way you think about weight loss. And at least it helps to explain why you've been struggling and why it's so hard to lose weight. And yes, I hope you've learned something, and I will speak to you on the next podcast. All the best for now.
Okay guys, so I hope you found the podcast of value. If you did and you're struggling with your own health and fitness journey, there's a link in the description for a free discovery call with me. And that free discovery call, we're going to cover off a little bit about you, your history, your goals, what you want to achieve, and maybe we can help you or not with your own health and fitness goal. So if that does sound like something that you'd like to do, then click on the link in the description, and I look forward to chatting to you in the very near future. Have a good day guys, bye bye.